was, a work study position, like 8 hours a week. And I was really excited to see more kind of behind the curtain of
Did Sasha freeze?
how a young person trying to break into a career right now. Um, and I think that AmeriCorps is such a phenomenal way to get on the ground experience, to gain those valuable skills, to set you up for success in building your future career. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I hope all of you are going to have a wonderful experience with it as well. So next, I think I'm going to throw it to Alex. Are you still in the room?
Indeed, I am. Good morning, everyone. I'm Alex Vanek. I am also working with Serve Virginia. I'm our state service plan coordinator, so I deal a lot with our strategic partnerships outside of AmeriCorps, unlike the program officers who are mostly focused on helping you all. Oh, we're getting echo from someone. Anyway, I'm also an AmeriCorps alum. I served as an AmeriCorps Vista member here with Serve Virginia for a year before starting this full-time work that I'm doing. And I'll kick it over to Jay Young, I guess. I don't think you've gone yet.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Jay Young Cho. I'm executive assistant with the Serve Virginia team, and I do a lot of stuff, administrative stuff in the background. I'm just happy to be part of the team, and I feel like AmeriCorps is a great tool to further propel the culture of public service. And who should I pass it to? Kathy, are you in the room?
You have one to take with you? I'm good, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kathy Spangler, and I'm the director of Serve Virginia, and I've been with the department for 3 years now and have been so impressed by the commitment of all of you who serve. I did not have the benefit of national service growing up as an option, but I grew up in a household where service was an expectation of our community life. And so really value the commitment to the service and volunteerism, but also recognize that what you're choosing and embarking upon in the year ahead is extraordinary. It is to be appreciated, and I'm most grateful for that. I don't know if there are any other staff members on the call. And Samantha, I don't know if it's my time to offer a few more comments, but I will defer to you to let me know what's on the agenda next.
Sure. So it is the 30th anniversary of AmeriCorps. So I wanted to share with everybody a video that AmeriCorps has put out. And if you didn't know, now you know. But it's a short video, and then we'll pass it back to Kathy to give us more words of wisdom. So let me stop sharing this and share with everyone the video.
And just a reminder, while we play this, if everyone can make sure that you're muted so we don't get any echo, that would be much appreciated.
Thanks, Sasha.
I will get things done for America to make our people safer, smarter, and healthier.
Always believed that you would elevate the cause of citizen service in America.
I will bring Americans together to strengthen our communities.
Fired up!
Faced with apathy, I will take action.
My husband, Martin Luther King Jr., once said that life's most persistent and nagging question is, what are you doing for others?
Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground.
Faced with adversity, I will persevere.
I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond.
I am an AmeriCorps member.
I am an AmeriCorps senior volunteer.
And I will get things done.
right. Uh, so hopefully you all enjoyed that. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and stop playing that. And Kathy, if you are available, I'd love to pass it back to you.
Thanks, Samantha, and an inspiring video and some really key messages in there. You know, whether you were motivated to serve because you wanted to give back, or you want to pay it forward, or you want to learn new skills, or you want to just discover what's inside yourself in the year ahead, what a big step. And thank you for making commitments that will last a lifetime, not only for you, but also for those that you will touch, whether that is colleagues in the organization where you're serving or recipients of the services you're providing. This full circle of benefit will result from your decision to take action and to serve. So I'd like to take a couple of minutes and talk about the science of hope, because the year ahead is really all about hopefulness. And, you know, hope is a cognitive process, and the science is one of the greatest predictors of our capacity for growth. So hope is a framework for action. It's a process, not a destination. And it really drives toward well-being as an outcome. In every one of your service years, you will be focused on taking action that results in the well-being of others, of your community, of the environment. So well-being is the outcome. It's a strength-based approach. And well-being is more than just what is wrong or the problems you're trying to solve. And so if you look at your year ahead with hope, you will have a belief that the future is going to be better than today and that you have the power to make it so. And so stop and pause and think about the hope you will bring to others, the hope you will bring to situations, the energy that you will deliver. Because we need pathways and the willpower to have hope. You know, hope is not a wish. Hope is taking action in your service, because hope matters to your mental health, to your social health, and to education, and to those you're serving, for sure. Because instilling hope in others is helping them overcome adversity and trauma. And it's also about taking care of the people who care for others. You know, adversity influences the nature of our goals. It makes us avoid an achievement mindset. It impacts our short-term and long-term goals and pathways. And, you know, these pathways are about thinking becomes difficult. Our short-term goal setting during times of adversity really becomes challenged. Our willpower can be drained by fear and rumination. And so part of your objective in service to your community and to others is to use imagination as the instrument of hope, because hope can be taught. Instilling in others a belief of what they can accomplish or what they can achieve or how conditions can change and their willpower to make it so is something that you share. So it's going to be really important in your year ahead is to cast a vision for your goal of success. What do you want to achieve? And if you are clear about what you want to achieve, you can help others find that clarity too. Think about the ways that you will bring hope that can move the needle for others, for those you serve, and for yourself. Because at the end, the service you render becomes your actual self. So will there be moments in the year ahead when you face adversity, When you doubt your decision to go through this journey, to bring the practices of hope and potential to the communities where you're serving, there's no doubt. I encourage you to rely on other members, on your leaders within your organization, on Serve Virginia, and use this year as a discovery process to understand more about yourself, how you can contribute to others, and where your talents can lead you. What a journey that you have ahead. You have the willpower, you'll have some pathways, and you'll face adversity. My guidance and desire for you is that you find hope in your journey, that you can and will make an impact in the lives of those you're serving, in the communities that you're serving, in the environments with which you're serving, and that will have an impact on you. I stopped and paused when I heard my colleagues at Serve Virginia, those that are alumni, talk about that life-changing experience. I hope that for you, and I look forward to being alongside you in your journey and seeing how you contribute to the lives of others, to the community at large, and how it transforms you. Again, thank you for your service and for the commitment you've made to the year ahead. It will bring an untold number of insights and opportunities for your growth and development. And I hope that you use the science of hope to pursue it. Best wishes. We're here for you. I know this 2-hour experience will be just the beginning, but hopefully it will be motivation to inspire you in the year ahead. I'll turn it back over, I think, to Kimberly.
Yes, Kathy, thank you for that inspiring message to all of us today. I would love to introduce you to, now that we're celebrating 30 years of AmeriCorps, and I can't believe it, it's been 30 years, Frank Cardella. And Frank is a member, an AmeriCorps alum, actually, who served in the 1994 and 1995. Frank is the Director of Research and Evaluation at the United Way of Greater Richmond and Petersburg. And welcome, Frank. We'd love to hear your 30 years. Frank, if you could take yourself off mute.
Are we there yet? Okay.
Yep.
So, good morning, everybody. I guess that's kind of rhetorical because we're not all speaking back to each other, right? So, good morning. I'm here on loan at the moment. I'm actually at a youth trauma and mental health symposium at the Science Museum of Virginia at the moment. I thought this background here would look kind of nice, but it's a little bit blurry. Behind me, it says passion. And when you talk about 30 years, first of all, 30 years of service, I have not been serving for 30 years. I served 30 years ago, which, thanks for putting that in perspective, by the way, that it's been 30 years. 30 years is a long time. So first of all, congratulations to AmeriCorps. Congratulations to everyone who's taken this journey over the last generation. Literally, a generation of Americans have participated in helping to shape this country through service. So thank you for that, and congratulations. Honestly, I looked at the remarks and at the bio, and everything sounds great, right? It all sounds wonderful when someone's going to come and inspire you and tell you about this great journey and everything. And I had scripted this out because I tend to do that. And then I looked at the PowerPoint and I saw on one of the slides, it said, this is not a moment, it's the movement. And everything went out the window because, right, this is not a moment, it's the movement where all the hungriest brothers with something to prove went. Anytime you can drop Hamilton bars, that's a good thing. You have to do it. Right. So we're flying kind of off the cuff here a little bit now, because I really reflected on what that journey has done for me personally, and also for the people that I served. So to give you a little bit of historical perspective, I served in a very rural community in upstate New York, Western New York, along the southern tier, along the border with Pennsylvania and Allegheny County. And I worked in a joint venture of the Department of Social Services and the Department of Labor. And I was hired as, the title was technically was communications specialist. I was hired to do work in education as an educator.
Frank, you're muted.
But thank you. New York was enacting in the late 90s its version of workfare. And people who were receiving public assistance were required to be engaging in some kind of search for employment or training or schooling. And so the vision that they had at the Employment and Training Center was a remarkable marriage of getting that work done, getting that educational piece, but providing wraparound services for people who needed those supports. So while I was there doing adult basic skills development and GED training and helping people to acquire high school equivalency education, it also gave me the opportunity to be an advocate for those folks, to go to other services that were housed in the same building and say, while I was working with this person, I noticed that they really could use this, or they really could use that. A lot of the work that I did was centered in people's homes. So I would travel to clients' houses, apartments, wherever they were staying at the time, and work with them on, again, working towards GED, working towards some kind of educational attainment. But it gave me an opportunity to be partially situated in their life situation, right? To experience what they were experiencing. And I could then go back and help them get other services that they may not have been aware of. I could help to connect them to other resources that on their own they weren't accessing. So it was a tremendous design for our AmeriCorps service project. I thought it was a really unique situation that I stepped into, and it opened up a lot of my eyes a little bit. It opened up my vision for how we could connect people through just caring, right? Through just caring about their situation and not seeing them as a transaction, not seeing them as this is a person who has a need because we've said so. It's a person that has a need that may have gone unexpressed. So that for me was a very powerful moment. And I'm going to come back to this theme of, all right, it's not a moment, it's the movement. And I'm going to say to you, yes, and, right? First rule of improv, it's always yes, and. When you're doing a scene with a partner and someone gives you a situation and you're not real thrilled with the situation, it's not where you want it to go. Don't say no, because when you say no, that shuts everything down. Say yes, and so AmeriCorps is a movement. Yes, absolutely it is. But there are moments within that you have to stop and connect, that you have to connect to the cause, that you have to connect to the people that you're serving, but you also have to connect for yourself. And I'm going to say that to everybody, regardless of your age and how long you've been, engaged. And I know a lot of you may be, just coming out of college or just getting into, you may be at the start of of your working life, or you may be at the start of this endeavor, at the beginning of an AmeriCorps year as we kick this off. But always think about where you locate that moment in time, because you'll be surprised how quickly 30 years goes by. And you want to make sure that you anchor some of those moments, that you take the time to recognize in that moment what it is, and then dream about what it could be. I never thought when I was doing that work in upstate New York that I knew I was going to be a teacher. That's great. But I never thought that that would lead to being an advocate. I never thought that that would lead to being a union leader. And years later, I became the president of what was at the time the fourth largest educator union in Virginia. I was a member of the board of directors of the VEA, the Virginia Education Association. I was the first national chair of the National Education Association National Board Certified Teachers Caucus, the NEA NBCT caucus. I had the opportunity to actually debate with then Secretary of Education Arne Duncan. Opportunities that I would never have thought of from the work that I was doing in that moment 30 years ago. And so it's important that you stop and take stock of your service, and that you give yourself the freedom to enjoy it, right? It's still work. Sometimes it's hard. There are going to be a lot of days that are really miserable. You're gonna see things and be part of things that you're gonna hurt, right? They're gonna tear at your heartstrings. But always remember that there's 30 years later, what that life could be for that person that you engaged with, what opportunity you're providing to someone, the support you're providing in the moment as you go along the movement, and think about where it's going to take you, but also where it's going to take them. I could have, if you had asked me 30 years ago, was it worth it? Right. I was driving, I think I told this to Samantha, and Samantha looked at me like I was crazy. This was in very rural New York, and there weren't a lot of spaces to be doing this work. It was the only AmeriCorps site in that whole geographic area. I was driving about an hour west from my home at the time to get to the AmeriCorps site, to get to work. I used my educational award, my grant from doing the AmeriCorps work, to go to grad school. That was an hour and a half north from there. And that was about another hour and 15 minutes back to my house. So I was doing 4 hours and 200 miles of travel 3 days a week. And the other 2, I was just doing the hour commute back and forth to work, right? So there was an investment on my part of time, and just the idea that this is for something, right? So it's service to your country, yes. It's service to your community, yes. But keep in mind, it's also got to be service to yourself. I'll use this analogy. It's probably an overused analogy, but they tell you all the time on the airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? This is service to yourself. You are building your future. You are building your capacity to continue to serve, to continue to do the work that needs to be done. This is a first step. And always remember that there's other people around you. Lean on those people. Be part of a team. I was fortunate to have 7 people on my team at that site, and we were all doing different things, but we came together once a week as a team to really support each other and talk about what was going on. So if I've learned anything in 30 years, it is doors open, right? And sometimes you just have to walk through them, right? There will be people on the other side of those doors. Embrace them for who they are and where they are, and recognize that, maybe in that moment, you meet, you say hello, you say goodbye, and there'll be other people in other doors. But keep opening doors, keep walking through them, and recognize that the other people are on the other side are doing the same. And that's what the service piece of it taught me, that no matter what my situation was, I had to be respectful of the situations that I was walking into. I had to recognize that other people were on the other side of that door. So I don't know. Like I said, I went from a script to just dropping bars, and I hope that maybe speaks to some of you, gives you a little bit. I have a piece of swag here I'm going to hold up because I'm proud of it. I'm not proud that I don't fit in it anymore, but I do have the OG AmeriCorps sweatshirt. This is first gen, folks. This is 94, 95 first gen AmeriCorps hoodie. And I used to wear it with pride, and I still own it with pride. I still think about that work that I did and what it meant. And this is not something that's ever going to end up in the Goodwill or in the yard sale pile. This is a piece of my history and my journey that is a touchstone that I can look back on every once in a while when I need to pick me up. So I'm going to ask you to do that too. I'm going to ask you to find a touchstone on your journey, something that you take away from this experience, a physical touchstone that you can look back on when you need it, when something comes up that's a roadblock to your journey, that you can go back and look and say, hey, I did this. I spent a year of my life doing something for the greater good. And it wasn't about the money, because we know, right? We don't need to go into that. We know it wasn't about the money. And please do me a favor. If I can get on my soapbox, and this is the great thing about, being older, people give you freedom to say things. Right? So I'm going to say this to you. Don't ever call it volunteerism. What you're doing is service. It's not volunteerism. It's a really, really low paying job, right? You do get compensation. It is not much, but it is a job. And it's a great job. It's a job that pays you not in, a living wage. And we can have a campaign all about that. But it's a job that pays you in memories, in service, in a connection to your community, in a connection to your country at a time when we seem to be doing the best we can to create division. This is a connector. This is something that everybody can get behind. I have not met a person in 30 years in doing advocacy work and in working in the community. I've not met a single person that said this AmeriCorps thing, it's bad for America, right? Not a person. So you are part of something that everybody can get behind. Take that, keep that, hold that, use that, and do the best you can for everybody that you come in contact with. I appreciate the opportunity to talk today, and I really wish you the best on your journey. Congratulations on what's going to be, I hope for you, a transformative year. Have a great kickoff. I have to, unfortunately, I got to run. I'm going to leave you with this. Behind me, again, it says passion, and above it, there's a quote from my buddy Al. You can call me Al, Albert Einstein. I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. Be passionate, be curious, go do the work that needs to be done. And thank you very much for letting me talk today.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you. I don't know if we could have seen the swag that you were showing, but something that resonated with me was, remember the opportunity and support you provide, where it will take you and where it will take those you serve. And happy 30th to you as well. And thanks for sharing your service and your wisdom with us today, and your continued service to our communities. Next up, we have another AmeriCorps alum. Her name is Vanessa Diamond. Vanessa is with our Governor's Advisory Board, and she's a member of our Governor's Advisory Board, and a past chair and past vice president, vice chair. She's a senior vice president of civic engagement for the Community Foundation of Greater Richmond. She is also the co-founder of Hands on Greater Richmond. Welcome, Vanessa.
Hey everyone, am I good? Can you see me? I hope I'm not using my blur screen because it makes me look like I have no hair and it caps me out. So I am really excited to be here. I do hold a lot of different seats in this civic life that we all are participating in. And one of my proudest is that I am an AmeriCorps alum. So I serve on the commission and I've supported AmeriCorps members in and out of our organization over the last 15 years here in Richmond. And my AmeriCorps experience was in Portland, Oregon in '97, right after college, and worked with youth and then led an environmental AmeriCorps program out there. And so I just want to, it's like, I'm here to kind of welcome you all to your year of service. And I just want to say, you are about to embark on something special. And I think Frank was trying to allude to that in that, you know, this isn't about volunteering. This isn't about a job. This is really about a civic experience. It's about you individually all raising your hand and saying, I want to do and be a part of the solution. A little bit like Frank, I have some notes and some things I want to talk about, and I'm going to maybe talk about some of them. But I want to start with something a little bit differently because I just spent the last hour and a half on the phone. So I'm part of a community foundation here in Greater Richmond. We're a foundation that supports nonprofits and we fund them. We run capacity building programs. We run our volunteer center. It's Hands on Greater Richmond. In your community, it could be Volunteer Alexandria, Volunteer Hampton Roads, Hands on Blue Ridge. We're all over the city. I mean, all over the state. But there's also 180 or so different affiliates across the world that run volunteer center type models. And we're part of a network called Points of Light. And I also am active in that network. And I just spent the last hour and a half with Roktova, who is the affiliate in Israel. And it was hard. It was a really difficult discussion. There was about 7 of us that are on a board together, talking about how we can support her work. How do we balance requests in our own community to support the tragedies that are unfolding in the Middle East right now? And a big part of our conversation was how complicated the situation in the Middle East is, and that my daughter this morning, who is 16, was like, "Mom, which side are we on?" And I was like, "We aren't on a side." I do happen to be Jewish and I have family in Israel. These second cousins. But the question that she asked me, I think, is really important. And I think at the heart of what service is, whose side are we on? And I said, we are on no one's side. We are on humanity's side. And I want to start with that today because I think it's really important to understand the context of the world we are in as you all embark on this year of service or term of service. That there are politics, there are religious factions, there are geographical boundaries, there are municipalities. Sometimes the city in Richmond doesn't agree with what the county is doing. Sometimes we don't agree with what our neighboring states are doing. We might have different opinions on how we address affordable housing or access to education. But in the end, what this woman, Hannah from Roktova, said to us was, this is about being human. And what she asked of us was to go to our communities and communicate that this isn't about the geopolitical situation in the Middle East. It is about real humans and real lives being impacted by terror, by violence, by hatred, and that what we can do is center humanity. And I just want to offer that because I promised Hannah I would. Because every day we are going to show up in our communities, no matter what your focus of your AmeriCorps term of service is. You might be focused on environmental impact or food access or education or ensuring that seniors are connected to resources. But in the end, we are all centering humanity. And what does it mean for us to show up and be an active participant? And not look away. And that was the one thing that Hannah said. She goes, I don't want people to look away from the atrocities. I want us to be able to understand that we can make a difference. And so the last piece I will kind of connect to this before I talk a little bit more about AmeriCorps I don't know if people know the artist Banksy. He's maybe it's one person, maybe it's 10 people, who knows? It's a pretty famous street artist who does really beautiful kind of graphic designs that usually have some sort of political action type messaging in it. And the one I saw today was a group of people pulling a machine, and they all had a rope behind them. They were pulling this machine. It looked like they were really like putting some effort into it. And behind it, probably 10 feet by 20 feet wide, was something spray painted that said the world could, in really bold letters, could be different. But it takes effort. It took their teamwork to kind of shift them and move that forward. And so when I think about AmeriCorps and I think about the term of service that you all are about to embark on, no, I think there's 100 or so of you on this call. There's hundreds more that are serving within Virginia. There's over 1 million AmeriCorps alum that have served in our communities over the last 30 years. And that each one of us are trying to pull that together to create what that different might look like. And I feel really blessed when I look at, you talked about I was the co-founder of Hands on Greater Richmond. So I moved to Richmond after I worked for an AmeriCorps program in Oregon. And I tried to volunteer for MLK Day. And I kept calling places and there was no way to volunteer. No one would call me back. I just couldn't understand what was going on because I moved from a region, Portland, Oregon, when it was very civically involved. And I just kept kind of hitting barriers after barriers. And what happened was I ended up in a conversation with someone. I was working on my master's degree at VCU, for those of you that are local, in public administration. And I ended up in a conversation with a classmate of mine. And she was like, oh, I have been thinking about starting something that helps connect volunteers. Do you know about DC Cares? And I was like, no. Do you know about Hands on Portland? And they were similar type organizations that really just match volunteers to community organizations. And within about 6 months, we launched a website. We went from the 2 of us to 300, 400 volunteers in our database. And last year, I think we matched over 14,000 volunteers. We work with corporate partners, we work with government agencies, and we've really developed, I think, a pretty phenomenal civic system in the central Richmond area to really try to activate volunteers, community, and individuals, students to get involved and to find what their passion is. It took a lot of effort to do this. We were both, 2 of us were in grad school. The third of us and this co-founder was getting married. I had my first child, right? We did all of this because of what Frank said. We had a passion to be activators, to try and make the world different. But what really bound us together was the ability to take our skill sets. And I really think of my term of service in AmeriCorps as my boot camp. It is what taught me really everything. It taught me how to communicate with people who came from different backgrounds, how to question the system, ask, why does this matter? What are we doing? How do we build new relationships? How do I fill out forms and documents and do evaluations and understand kind of the governmental like evaluation process? And why is that important? You guys are probably gonna have to everyone's gonna have to fill out different kinds of reporting on what your activities are. The reason you do that is because that gets aggregated to what your neighboring AmeriCorps member is doing. And that gets aggregated to what their neighboring AmeriCorps is doing, so that we can prove that this work matters and we can start to see the social change we're looking for. And all of that kind of basis was really part of my AmeriCorps experience that helped launch me into my career, helped me launch Hands on Greater Richmond, helped me merge Hands on Greater Richmond into one of the largest community foundations in the country, that has created a sustainable system for us in our region, far beyond what I would have done on my own. And I think that's been the greatest lesson for me from AmeriCorps to where I am now, is that at every opportunity that I could take to build a bridge, to get to know someone a little bit differently, to ask for advice, to ask how we should be doing this, because the way I might think that we should do it might not be the way a partnering organization. Every time I did that, it created community. And that community then built this work. And really similar to the phrasing, it's not a moment, it's a movement. It helped build the movement. And I am a part of it. But every day, the people in this office, you all might call me after this and be like, I have an idea. Why aren't you doing this? Could you do this? And if we can stay open to this idea of bridging our social capital, our ideas together, that is really where I think we make the most change. And I think it really connects back to the conversation I had about Roktova and my friend Hannah was pay attention, build bridges. You know, how do we make these connections to really ensure that we are trying to create a world that is different? One other thing I want to talk about, because I think I don't know if I don't even know if the chat works. Can someone tell me if the chat works?
Yes.
Like, can you all
Everyone should have
type into
access to
the
chat.
Everyone can type into the chat. Okay. So I think there's 100 people in here. Let's see if we can get a good portion of you all to just pause for a moment. Why are you here? Not here in this call with me today. Like, why are you embarking on a year of service? It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be, I want to learn more. I want the education award. I want to further my education. I want you to just take a minute and pause. You can close your eyes, don't fall asleep. And I want to hear from you, and I want you all to hear from each other, because there's probably 105 different reasons, and that's okay. So just start popping it in there. Why are you doing this? Why are you showing up and participating in this amazing civic life we have? Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I know there's more of you. So take a minute and read up and down this thread. Some people want to teach. Some people want to learn. Some people want to build relationships. Some people are worried about the future of our youth, making sure that they have access to resources. Some people want to lift up people who have been underserved or marginalized and ensure that their voices and needs are heard. This is what service is. This is what it means to show up and participate and activate. And I hope someone can grab some of these, but it's like to be able to understand and articulate for yourself why this is important, but also for you to have the opportunity, because I know we're in this virtual world right now. You know, I can't have you turn to your neighbor and talk about things, but to understand that every single one of you have shown up for a reason that is personal to you, but that you are also woven into the fabric of all of these passions, ideations, North Stars. I think, Frank talked really well about it. Keep that North Star, keep that passion going. And if there's something on here that you really like, even if you didn't write it, like cut and paste it and put it in your notes app. Make sure that you're keeping this as your North Star, because there are days that AmeriCorps is hard. If it was easy, we wouldn't have AmeriCorps, right? We always say it's like we're here to get things done. AmeriCorps is built to meet our unmet needs, the things that fall, the in-betweens, the things that need to be highlighted, that need to be done. And it is going to be difficult. You are probably going to see and have conversations with community members that are really hard. And then you're going to have days of beauty and light and really amazing conversations with community that help build your that fabric that I was talking about. So the last piece I want to leave you with is really, I guess another charge I'd like to add to Frank's about keeping your swag. I also still have my hoodie, and it's been 25 plus years. My 14-year-old daughter wears it all the time, and I'm like, you did not earn that. I earned that. So if you get any good AmeriCorps swag, you should definitely keep it. The thing I want to challenge you all with is, yes, I want you to enjoy and learn and grow in your own AmeriCorps experience. You know, no matter what your topic is, no matter what your issue area, or what part of the state and region you are in, get to know that community, build those bonds of, you know, social capital and relationship, have conversations with people who think differently than you. And the charge I would have for you all is that often people come to us all the time from, you know, hands-on and community foundation, asking questions around community issues. And they're like, I didn't know. I didn't know is probably the number one thing that we get a call about. I don't know how to volunteer. I didn't understand why so many people are unhoused, or how mental health is impacting youth, or that there are so many seniors that are isolated. I didn't know the impact of, you know, XYZ on our environment, or that people didn't have access to healthy, clean air, whatever the issue might be. I didn't know tends to be one of the number one kind of questions that spark conversation for us. And so my challenge to you all is to be ambassadors for civic knowledge. You might have a very specific focus or initiative that you're focused on, like I mentioned. Talk about it. Talk about it to your barber, talk about it to your coffee barista, talk about it to your people in your book club. Help connect people to civic information that is real, that is valuable, that is vetted, because access to information and trust in our civic life is vital. And if every single one of you that goes out into your community, and as you're serving and you're building relationship in your community, continues to be an active agent of this idea that exploration and curiosity and civic knowledge is vital for our democracy to go forward. It's vital for us to build relationships across political and geographic boundaries. You all will have a very unique role in your organizations and in your communities to be an activator, and to really think about what it takes to connect and educate those people around you to the resources so that they can figure out their own civic journey forward. We want more people involved. We want more people to think about donating and volunteering and advocating for policy change. So if you can be that ambassador for action, I think about it in a way that's like, you know, that the Banksy image I talked about earlier, the world could be different, right? That is your role in helping it make it different, not just what you are doing, but how can you help amplify others so that you are a multiplier in your goodness. So with that, I'll just say I'm really, really excited for you all in your year of service. If there are questions you have for me, if you have ideas or want to get in touch with me, I am always an open book and would love to chat with you all about your AmeriCorps experience or other things that you might be doing. If you are in the central Richmond, Virginia area and you want to reach out anyway, I am here. And I'm really excited to hear about the year of service. I know we get to hear at the commission all the time about the different programs and the things that are happening out there. And hopefully I'll be hearing some of your stories really soon. I'm not sure who I'm passing it back to, so I'll just click off. And if you've got questions for me or things I need to do, let me know.
Thank you, Vanessa. Does anyone have any questions for Vanessa? You can unmute your mics. So a lot of things that I wanted to echo in this, not a movement, but not a moment, but a movement for our 30 years. A lot of things Vanessa touched on. She talked about AmeriCorps service being her boot camp. Both she and Frank talk about there are good days and then there are not so good days while serving, but that's life. I mean, we all have them, work, life, and also how your the passion to be activators. I really like that, to be activators, to make the world better. And another thing, talk about civic life, talk about what's going on in your communities to anyone and everyone. Be an ambassador for action. And so, yeah, this is great. And we like your comments, all your comments in the chat box that you put in. Very good. And so let's see, we've got some time on the clock. What do we want to do with this time? Samantha, you have any ideas on
Sure,
what else we
yeah.
want to do?
So we have a couple minutes before we do an alum panel, and I know that I've seen some program directors on here from programs that are represented by the members who are on here, and I was wondering if those folks in the next 5 minutes wanted to just unmute themselves, say hello, say what their program is, because a lot of AmeriCorps members who are on here might not know the breadth of how AmeriCorps members are across the state, or what programs are even available. Usually, if they're living in the community, they're only aware of the AmeriCorps program within their community. They may or may not be, but I was just hoping maybe, Paul, if you want to start. I don't know, you you had piped up first.
All right,
So
put me on the spot. Good morning. So Paul Manning, City of Richmond. I'm the AmeriCorps program director for both. We have two programs, Our Hopes, which is the Richmond Healthy Futures Opioid Prevention and Environmental Stewardship Program, as well as our second program, a new program, our VA Health Corps, where we are recruiting, training, certifying, and engaging 16 members of certified health workers in the community. So really exciting. I see some of them on the call. Hey, gang. I also see our new program supervisor we're bringing on board in a couple of weeks, Roy. So thanks for being on the call, and we are excited. I can say that over my years of being a program director, it's always great having a phenomenal team at Serve Virginia. Samantha, Sasha, Kim, Kathy, you guys rock. So thank you.
thank you, Paul. Love that shout out. Who else is here? I see ILR is a whole big conference room of folks.
Yahweh. Hi. So we're Dan River Year AmeriCorps, and so we're in Danville, Virginia, right next to the North Carolina border. And our focus is on STEM and literacy, and we place members at local elementary schools in 4th and 5th grade, and also after-school sites to try to reduce the gap in literacy and STEM for some of our students. So we're excited to be here and the support, and sorry some of our members couldn't be here or join separately, but thank you all for today.
Thank you. Who else? What other programs we have represented?
I can
Yeah,
go.
Alessandra. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Alexandra Mendez. I am the program manager of the AmeriCorps program here at Casa, Virginia. Our service site is located in Woodbridge. Our team essentially helps with areas of youth programming and citizenship the naturalization process. A good portion of my team's here, about 10 or so members. So we have some Casa people that just joined. And so we're really excited for this year. And of course, always thank you to Samantha and Kim for always being there to support Casa and any questions that may come up.
Not everybody has to thank us, but thank you. Anybody else? What other program directors are on here? Oh, Joy.
Hey, Sam. Hey, everybody. Joy from Virginia College Advising Corps. Happy to be here. Our mission is to provide post-secondary pathways to students who are underrepresented in higher education. And we're going to have 60 full-time members doing that this year. Thanks, JT. Shout out to you as well. Saw you commenting earlier. And we are serving 15% of all the seniors in public high schools across Virginia. So just to give a sense of the reach, it's from Wise County over the Eastern Shore, and it's going to be over 14,000 seniors. So that's really, really exciting. And yeah, happy to be here. And I won't thank you because you told me not to, but it's great to be with everybody.
Thank you, Joy. Michelle, did I see Michelle?
I'm here. We're turning off the smartboard. You get it? Okay, sorry. We're watching. I have some of the AmeriCorps members here with me at Hillsville Elementary, and then otherwise we are across 4 school systems, and we're Carroll County Lift Up. We focus mostly with math and reading, and we're off to a great start. We still need to fill a few slots, so I love seeing all these familiar faces. If y'all have any advice, we would love it. And I'm going to thank you all anyway. You all have been a great help for me. We've had some crazy problems come up this year. So thank you, Samantha and Keon, for getting us through that.
Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy time with AmeriCorps. Anybody else? Any other program directors on the call representing programs? Okay. All right. Well, let's just jump right into it then. We have a panel of alum. We have some questions that we're just going to have them answer, but I would love for you all, the audience, to also participate. So if you have questions or you have things that you want to say, certainly put them in the chat, and there'll be a time for you to unmute yourself as well. I'm going to hand it over to Sasha and hopefully spotlight the alum.
Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. I'm going to give Samantha a second to find and spotlight all of our alumni who are joining us for the panel, and then we will get started with introductions. Alex, since I know that you are in the call right now, do you want to go ahead and get us started? I'm going to drop the questions that we're starting with in the chat. We're just going to have everyone start off by giving their name. What are you currently doing? So are you in school? Are you working? What has AmeriCorps led you to? Talk about your service role. So which stream of service did you participate in? And then just what did you do in your term of service? What was your AmeriCorps responsibilities?
Great. I'm happy to get us started since I get to introduce myself twice here. I'm Alex Vanek. I am currently working here with Serve Virginia, our service commission for Virginia. So for those of you who haven't met me before at some of our events, you'll certainly hear more from me on some of our different programs and opportunities that we run in addition to AmeriCorps. I know I've met a lot of you program directors already. And for all of you AmeriCorps members, welcome. And you'll be hearing from me about all sorts of fun stuff like connecting with alumni and other events that we'll have going on throughout the year. I'll be in charge of getting all of that up and running. And let's see, what was my service role? So I served as an AmeriCorps Vista member right out of college. First thing I did, and it was really just such a wonderful experience. I know I told a lot of people this was something that I considered a backup option after I had looked at other things. And then once I started, I felt so silly because it should have been my first choice. And here I am now. And in my role, so you guys heard from Vanessa a little bit about, well, a lot about the role of volunteer centers and how important having that resource in communities is. So during my year as an AmeriCorps Vista member, I was brought on to support the Virginia Volunteer Center Network, which is the group of 10 to 15 of those organizations throughout Virginia, which provide those online portals for matching volunteers with nonprofit needs, for connecting nonprofits with those volunteers, generally for supporting that ability to mobilize people in communities to get things done, to address those needs, whatever they may be. So my role was really about facilitating that group, understanding what the needs and resources are required to run those kind of programs, where we're missing the resources necessary to get volunteer management in different parts of Virginia, and connecting with those organizations to understand what we can do from a statewide level to help them, and then what they can also do to continue to support each other. That's an organization network that in my current job, I continue to facilitate and support. And it's something that we've set up that really effective partnership between AmeriCorps and those volunteer centers where we have that ongoing relationship. I think that's all. I think that's my question's answer there, Sausage. So I'll pass it back to you to go to the next person.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alex. And I will go ahead and throw it to our other Alex, Alex J. Could you go ahead?
Happy to. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Johnston. I am the Associate Director with the Virginia College Advising Corps. So shout out to Joy, shout out to my team out there. She shared a little bit about our mission, but just to reiterate, we are working to increase the number of first generation, low income, and underrepresented minority students who enter and complete higher education. So what I do is have the privilege of finding incredible people to join our organization. We train those folks, of course, as you understand, and supervise, mentor, coach them as they are doing the incredibly important work of getting our seniors ready for their next step. So my service role was actually with the same organization. Right after I graduated from college, I joined VCAC. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, it was my first choice. I heard about this program my second year of college. I thought back to my own high school experience and the people who sat down with me and helped me access fee waivers and reviewed my college essay and just generally were really important support systems for me as I was navigating life after high school. And I wanted to do the same through an organization that I was just really drawn to, which is VCAC. So what did I do in my service? A lot of what you can assume, a lot of one-on-one meetings with families and with students, held a lot of events like college application workshops and SAT prep sessions and FAFSA completion drives to help students get to that next step. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Alex. And then Alyssa, I'm going to have you go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Alyssa De La Salas, and I am the current Vista team leader for Serve Virginia. And basically, my role is making sure that our members have a happy and successful service year. I am used as their resource for anything AmeriCorps related, or if they just need help in life. My role in AmeriCorps, I was an NCCC member, and for those of you that don't know what that is, it stands for the National Civilian Community Corps. In a sense, it's like a mini Peace Corps. I got to travel around the country on a team of 8, helping different nonprofits and organizations achieve whatever they wanted an AmeriCorps group to do for them. So I kind of just had a variety of projects. My first project was in York County, Pennsylvania, where I got to inventory, sort, and distribute food boxes to those in need of assistance. That was a really fulfilling project because I actually got to see my work in fruition and got to interact with community members. My second project was in Wisconsin, where I got to build a nature playground and remove invasive species for the Pringle Nature Center. I then moved on to be on an environmental specialty team. So I got to go to the Upper Peninsula in Sault Ste. Marie, where I got to help the Sioux tribe of Native Americans remove an invasive species called wild parsnip that was growing in their communities. And it was especially dangerous because if you get the sap on you, it causes second-degree burns. So obviously that's not a great thing for if kids want to play outside in their backyard. So in 3 weeks, my team and I moved 6,000 pounds of that, which was also a really successful and amazing project that I got the pleasure of being a part of. My next project was in Minnesota, where I got to work at a wildlife sanctuary, making trails for them. And this was also an interesting project in the sense where I got to sleep a few feet away from hundreds of wolves and bears and stuff in their own enclosures. So that was a really amazing project, doing trail work for them, and so that they could utilize the land that they have for, funding and raising money for their organization. And then lastly, I was in Vermont, where I got to have my first ever camping experience, camping for 5 weeks on Camel's Hump, doing trail work for the Green Mountain Crew. So a lot of great things that I did during my NCCC service year. I'm really grateful for all the people that I've met in the 10 months. 10 months seems like a lot, but it passed by me very quickly. And I'm just very grateful for my experience. And I guess I decided that I wasn't done with AmeriCorps because here I am with Serve Virginia 9 months later. So thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Samantha, I thought we had one more person. Are they not with us yet?
I'm not sure if
Okay.
Kayla is in the room. If she is, I don't see her.
Okay, fantastic. Well, if she is, she can raise her hand, and we will spotlight her if she comes in. But otherwise, I think that we are going to have a great panel with the three of you. I love hearing about all of the experiences you've had. The fact that we have all three streams of service covered between the three of you is absolutely fantastic. And just hearing, the breadth of service topics, different areas that you've worked in, from education to community engagement to working with environmental issues and food security. Just an incredible wealth of experience between the three of you. So thank you so much for being here. So I know that many of you touched on this in your introductions, but I would love if you could talk a little more about why you chose to do AmeriCorps and maybe why you chose to serve with the specific organization or position that you chose. How did you hear about it? What made you interested to apply, and then how did you ultimately decide to accept your position? And I'll have Alex J. Could you go first?
Yes, I'm happy to. So I chose AmeriCorps. I alluded to this a little bit, but I heard about it in my career as an undergraduate. And during my undergraduate career, there were a few things that I did that were already service oriented. So I was already kind of intrigued by service oriented work. I participated in a Young Woman Leaders program, which was kind of like a big sister, little sister program. I was a peer advisor with the Office of African American Affairs, which was an opportunity for me to help welcome first-year Black students to the University of Virginia. And I joined my beloved sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So we did a ton of service projects through that as well. So I knew that I wanted to continue service. And when I heard about Virginia College Advising Corps, it just felt very serendipitous for me. It felt like the perfect next step. It was actually the only job I applied for because I really wanted to do it. And during that interview process, there were, of course, different regions of the state that I could serve. And I was placed in Southside Virginia, which was a very different experience for me. And I took a moment to pause to think, is this something that I want to do? Because I was hoping to stick around, maybe an environment that I was more familiar with, but I'm really, really grateful that I took a leap and stepped into a space that I hadn't been to before, but to serve the communities in the ways that I received service when I was younger as well. So mostly just really drawn to this mission-driven work. I feel like my life's calling is to serve and identify the marginalized and kind of bring them to the center, identify needs, and help find ways to meet those needs. And I feel like I get a chance to do that every day being back with the organization now. And then lastly, I'll say that I chose AmeriCorps because the Education Award was enticing. And I knew that I wanted to go back to graduate school. I knew I wanted to do something counseling related. And those 2 years, and for VCAC, we're a 2-year program, it was really helpful to have 2 education awards to use towards my graduate school funding, which I was able to use just until last year.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alex. I just love hearing about how your journey really came full circle with your years of service and then with working as the associate director. I think that is absolutely fantastic. Um, Alyssa, could you go next and again just tell us about why you chose AmeriCorps, how you heard about it, and what has brought you to now these two different AmeriCorps positions that you've held.
Yeah, of course. So in high school, I had always wanted to do Peace Corps, and that was something that was, that's a big leap. So my friend had done AmeriCorps, and I heard about it during college, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool program. And honestly, what got me interested in AmeriCorps was that she got a project in Alaska, and I was like, I really want to go to Alaska. That would be such a great opportunity. Um, Such a beautiful state. I really want to go. Um, Fast forward, because it was just never the right time during college. I wanted to finish my degree. I graduated in 2020 with my bachelor's in psychology and kind of decided that I didn't want to go to grad school right away, and kind of stumbled upon AmeriCorps again and realized, this might be a great opportunity for me as a gap year to travel around the country, meet different people, all while helping people who are in need. And that's just something that piqued my interest. So I applied, I got in. Um, traveled around the United States for 10 months, and I just really loved it. I just loved the AmeriCorps program. I really loved the experience that I made, all the people that I met during it, and didn't want to do the, direct service again, traveling around the country because, I am going to be 26 soon. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to settle down and, stay in one place instead of traveling all around for a career. So I decided to do AmeriCorps Vista, and I was looking for opportunities in my area. I'm located in New Jersey, and I didn't really find any that piqued my interest. So I did a broader search and stumbled on Serve Virginia's service opportunity. And I was like, wow, I really love the projects that they're doing right now. It's right up my alley where they're doing, refugee and immigrant work and substance use initiative work. And I was like, wow, that's really something I'm interested in. Why don't I apply and see what happens? I wasn't expecting to be a leader. I was just going to be a regular member, but this opportunity was just too good to pass up. So I applied, and they accepted me, and here I am. And I've been loving it every minute.
Thanks so much, Alyssa. We were so lucky to have you come along at just the perfect time to come on as Vista leader. And I hope you're proud of the work that you've done so far because it's been amazing. Alex Vanek, could you go and finish us off with how you came to AmeriCorps and what piqued your interest in it?
So for me, my background in community service and really this side of being involved in the community started when I was pretty young. I'm an Eagle Scout, so that whole system really got me to that point where it was just always going to be ingrained in my life that my community matters, that it's valuable for me to give my time and effort and knowledge out to the community around me. And that's something I carried through college. I was really heavily involved in our Office of Community Engagement, our alternative break programs. I was a leader on a number of those, and really ingrained in me the value of being out in your community and learning, and how important it is for people to be face to face with the needs of our community members, especially people who might not always get the chance to see that. And it's really such a good way to bridge that divide between, community members, the people moving into a new community, um, the different generations. I did a volunteering trip with Senior Connections here in Richmond actually while I was in college. And so it's always fun for me to work with them now that I'm in this office here, because it's like I know about their organization already because I worked with them before. And it's those kind of connections that are just so important through volunteering. And what really brought me to AmeriCorps Vista in particular was that opportunity to do infrastructure building and capacity building, and really looking at, okay, how do we set up a better system to address all of these needs? Because it's, in my free time, I'll be there, boots on the ground in the food banks, in the schools, tutoring, whatever needs to be done. But then there's the question of how do we scale that up? How do we make it so that we can address everyone with those needs? And then how do we change things so that we can reach a point where those aren't needs that need to be addressed anymore, where people do have equitable access to the resources? And so for me, Vista was really that eye-opening experience where I could come into a state government office and learn about how all of this worked, and really get to play a role in supporting volunteerism throughout the state and supporting the organizations that are doing that important on the ground work, mobilizing people. Because a lot of the times there's not a support system for them. It's okay, we're the people doing the work, but who's helping? But who's helping me? Who's getting me through the day? Who's getting me through the week? Who's preventing me from burning out? And I feel like that's what I learned that was really valuable as a Vista, and it's something I still carry now in the work that I currently do.
Thank you so much, Alex. I love hearing all three of you talk. You clearly have such passion for this work, and it's just really, really refreshing and wonderful to hear. And I hope everyone else is going to take that away as well. And Alex, you actually gave me the perfect transition into our next question, which is, what skills or knowledge did you learn during your term of service that you found the most useful, and how have you seen those being useful in your life? How have you used those after your AmeriCorps service came to an end? And I think, Alyssa, I'm going to have you go first this time.
Okay. So skills that I gained when I was in NCCC.
it's going to be kind of like a funny but serious answer. Just kind of, just learning how to be around different people at all the time. So being on a team of 8, you had to basically wake up with them, be with them, work with them, just everything. So that was definitely a skill that I was not used to. And definitely something that got me out of my comfort zone, being around people. I have a younger sister, but I'm not used to being around people at all walks of life. So it was definitely an interesting experience. Doing that, and then just getting the experience of speaking with people and improving on my communication skills. I talked about a little bit on my project and the York County Food Bank. um, I got to very much improve on my Spanish speaking skills because it was a very populated Hispanic area. So that's a skill that I gained from that project. Definitely my invasive species knowledge. I did not know anything about invasive species or plants. Now I could successfully identify walking outside what is an invasive species in my yard, which is a blessing and a curse. And then now during my time in Serve Virginia, like I said, I really stumbled upon this opportunity and I wasn't expecting to be a leader. So this has really been an opportunity for me to work on my leadership skills, and basically making sure everyone is getting done what they're supposed to be getting done, following deadlines, really honing in on my organizational skills. So yeah, those are just a few of the many skills that I gained from AmeriCorps that, I'm grateful to have to this day.
Perfect. Thank you, Alyssa. And I love the focus on learning to live with and work with people from all streams of life. I know Alex, I think you've both kind of touched on this in your own answers, how, AmeriCorps does kind of force you to interact with people you never thought you would interact with. And I know, Samantha, you have a bit of a funny story along the same vein that I might tag you to share later. But I think that that is one of the really powerful parts of an AmeriCorps experience, is just getting to meet people and work with and serve people who you never expected to be interacting with. Um, so next, I'm going to ask Alex Johnston if you could answer the same question. What do you feel were the greatest skills or knowledge that you gained during your term of service, and how do you see that impacting your life today?
Yeah, I love this question because what Vanessa alluded to earlier in her keynote is so true. It felt very much like my boot camp, a very well supported boot camp for me. But I learned so many things. But the first that I'd like to share is some of the knowledge that I gained. And rather than knowledge gained, I'd like to frame it as just lessons that were confirmed in my service. And I definitely realized that people are the captains of their own ship and they're the experts of their own lives. And I had to learn as an AmeriCorps member how to balance encouragement and sharing resources and helping someone see beyond maybe a limited view of themselves, of their family, of their abilities, but also trying to make sure that I'm leaving the decision in the hands of that student and that family too. And that was difficult. And it's something still to this day that I find myself balancing as I'm working on the program directing side of things, right? Just finding a balance of encouraging and making sure that people have all that they need, but also allowing people to drive their own lives, because they deserve to drive their own lives and they're the expert of their own experience. So if I come in with too many assumptions or too many things that I think are going to be right for someone else, it just breaks trust and it doesn't allow us to build a relationship that ultimately would hopefully get them to the next step that they see for themselves. So that was like one of the biggest lessons that I learned during my service that I still bring with me today. I also another lesson kind of confirmed was that the important work is the hard work, and we're doing hard work every day. So I had to learn how to take care of myself, and beyond getting my nails done and going to the spa, which are things that I do, but also trying to do things that truly preserve and sustain my energy. So I had to realize that as a young adult, I need to incorporate cooking more often, moving my body more often, taking time out of my day to be mindful, all the things that are self-care or self-preservation, as I like to think of it too, to be able to give what I want to give, what I feel like people deserve to have. So that was another kind of lesson confirmed. And then skills that I learned, I realized coming right out of undergrad that I was given a really big job, and it was scary because I was like, wow, kind of have ownership over developing a program for high school seniors and their families over the course of 2 years. Like, that's a big responsibility. And it took me some time to really step into the fullness of the power that I knew that I had. And some of the skill sets that I was able to hone in on were strategy development and organization, as Alyssa shared, and identifying big picture ideas and drawing it all the way down to the small implementation, all the little details that you have to do too. So I'm really grateful to have had an experience that allowed me to think through program planning for a whole year and then help me to give me some experience with, doing everything to down to ordering pizza for the event the night of that event. Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alex. I love that. I think that that confidence and that ability to lead is something that many of us have the opportunity to really cultivate during our term of service. And that is something that I think for anyone, no matter what your future career path looks like, that's going to be just so beneficial and so helpful. And I also love your spotlight on self-care. I know that we are hearing more and more, I'm sure, Alyssa, you're seeing this in your role as well, from members who are facing burnout, who are struggling under kind of the weight self-care and think about how you can really practically put yourself first and preserve your own energy and your own capabilities is just so important. So thank you for bringing that up. Alex Vanek, I'm gonna throw it to you now.
Second so much of what Alex just said, just especially the piece about being put in that position of responsibility. It's something that I think is really unique to AmeriCorps for this kind of first job experience, this first experience after college, after high school, after wherever you came from, where you're going to be asked to do something really, really important for real people, for your community members, for the people living around you. And you're going to be trusted to do that, and you're going to be supported and given the resources, and you just got to dive into that, and that's how you get so much out of it. I feel like it says so much that Alex and I are both now working with the organizations that we had our AmeriCorps term of service with, and that's a real testament to the skills we gained and their immediate practical application for the work that we both knew needed to continue to be done. And that's really one of the big things in general. Now, I could go into like a million tiny things about like the details of how volunteerism works and all the data and statistics that I got to pour over in my year of service. And just that level of detail that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else, because there's so much about volunteerism and community engagement that you really don't learn in college courses, even if you're actively engaged in volunteering. This is the only way to learn it, is to really be working with the organizations that are trying to recruit volunteers every day and the organizations that are trying to help them recruit volunteers. So a lot of what I learned was a lot of that background, that stuff that happens behind community engagement work. And I learned a lot of why it's important, and why a lot of the time it's overlooked. And one of the kind of fundamental changes in like my own philosophy that I took away from a lot of this was just changing my own perspective on how I saw community service and volunteerism. Where a lot of the time we see, like philanthropy is like, oh, this is a good thing to do, I'm giving back. And not always something that like is a like important responsibility, that is something we ought to do. It's not just the right thing to do, but it's something that needs to be done. And kind of also valuing the people who are doing this work, is something that it can be hard to express sometimes, that this doesn't just happen out of the good of people's hearts, that the people addressing these important needs need to have the resources to keep themselves healthy as well. And that's just those kind of small things that being in this environment, doing this kind of work as an AmeriCorps member, really kind of changed my perspective on a lot of. The other thing I learned was just working with people who want to do the same thing but have different responsibilities that they need to take care of. And it's a little bit of cat herding, and it probably always will be, no matter what kind of work you're doing when you have a lot of community partners. But I really learned how to facilitate a group of people who all want something together, even if they can only chip in a little bit, and knowing like who to ask for what, knowing what people's limits are, and knowing how to meet people where they're at, knowing that, I can't always expect someone to meet me halfway because they just have other important things they need to be doing, and respecting that and being able to make an opening for them to contribute in the way they want, without overburdening them was really something I learned, and something that I continue to do in my work here, where I'm still working with a lot of community partners, small nonprofits, larger nonprofits. Everyone has different things they can add. And I learned a lot during my Vista term of service about how to communicate with them, how to work with them, how to understand what their needs are, and then how to invite them to join into more initiatives and other things that they want to get done.
I love that spotlight on empathy. I think that this work absolutely does teach you, both obviously with the people who we're serving, but also, the other people who are doing this work so often have limited capacity, have limited resources, and are, putting everything they have into, trying to make the world better. And I think having that empathy, having that understanding is just so important as we move into this work. And I just really appreciate that. So thank you for bringing that to us. Um, so the next question I have for everyone is, what was the most challenging experience, or the biggest kind of problem, the biggest dilemma that you faced during your term of service? What was the hardest thing for you to deal with? And how did you overcome that obstacle? Or, if you didn't, what were kind of the consequences of that? Or, how do you think that you might have been able to work with it differently? So just some time to think about what was challenging during your term of service. Um, Alex Johnston, will you go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm reflecting on this, and I have prepared one answer, but I want to share another. So there would be two major challenges that I faced. The first was just seeing all of societal's ills play out in front of me, and this work was really hard for me. And I come from a family where my parents sacrificed a lot to get me and my older brother from a neighborhood in New York that was changing in the early 90s down to Virginia Beach. And one of the reasons why they selected Virginia Beach for me and my brother was the school system. So I just had the opportunity to take advantage of a lot of really excellent resources there. And so then to go on to college and then go through this service, it just was really difficult for me to see how many fewer teachers were available to teach the kinds of classes that I was used to seeing in a school system, or how many students would show up to a college night versus the ones that I attended in my own high school career. And I think that was a challenge for me. I think it's something that Alex shared earlier about sometimes the disconnect between what you study in college and what you really experience in AmeriCorps. It just brings it all home for you, and it just emboldens you and it impassions you to get the work done. So in some days, though, in full transparency, it was hard and it was depressing. And it made me want to kind of step back and think about all of the other things that are going to have to get done if I'm going to get done what I need to get done, right? So that was a big challenge for me. Another challenge for me too was just learning how to integrate myself into a community that I wasn't from, that felt very different from mine, that I felt a little bit homesick over. For me personally, I just went into an area where I had seen more Confederate flags in a couple of months of service than I had in my whole lifetime. I mean, it was just an adjustment for me, and I had to find ways to hold both of those things true in my head, of service to a community that I knew could value the resources that I had to give, and also to a community that maybe wasn't for me in the ways that I was for them. And that was complicated, for sure. But the ways that I got through both of those challenges was leaning on my support system. And it's just so heartwarming to see 100 members on this call, because at the time I leaned so heavily on the other AmeriCorps members in my program just to talk through it all, messy or not, just to help me get through each year and to feel confident that I was placed on purpose in this space. And that, again, I had some ownership over not only what I could do for the community, but the ways that I could think about the service to the community as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Alex. I really love the way that you spotlighted, the supervisors, the mentors, the other members. I think that, I say all the time, those kind of supports you have around you can make or break a term of service because, I think everyone is going to have challenges, is going to have bumps in the road during their term of service. That's just how this work goes. And I think it's not so much about never having those, but more about, do you have the supports in place? Do you have the people who are going to help you through those challenges when they come up? So shout out to any supervisors, any program directors, any, mentors who are on this call. You really do make such a big difference in the lives of our members. Alyssa, could you go next?
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna build off of what Alex was saying, with the homesickness, during NCCC. That is a huge thing that I went through, kind of just being forced to being away from everything that I know, everything that, I've grown up around, and just kind of being forced to be on a team with people who have you all from different states, different upbringings, different backgrounds, different ways of life. That was definitely an adjustment, learning how people are, learning their routines, what people like to eat. I know an issue on our team, not so much of an issue, but we had, team members who were vegan, so we had to adjust our diets, to, adhere to their food accommodations. And honestly, it was a challenge at first, but I ended up really, really liking adapting to other people's way of life. It really made me feel like a well-rounded person. And honestly, just seeing how, different states are and how, people interact in different states, who has accents, who doesn't, it was really, that was a great experience, for me to see that. I will emphasize, another thing, speaking about food a little bit. Being an NCCC member, I don't know how many people know this, but you receive $6 a day for your food, which is not a lot at all. So that was something that my team and I really had to work hard at, budgeting. What can we go without? What I see was, I love seltzers. I had to go without them sometimes because, you can't afford them on the AmeriCorps stipend. So just like little things that you take for granted in life, and then you're kind of just thrown into a situation where you just get $6 a day for 3 meals. And it really just gave me perspective that, this is how some people actually live. In the United States, people are actually struggling, to make ends meet, to, put together something for a meal for not just themselves, but maybe they have a whole family. And, it really just put into perspective for myself and my team that, we have to budget, and we have to, really make things work with just rice and beans. We might be having to eat that for 3 times a day for, 3 days in a row. So that's just something that we just had to make work. And that was definitely a challenge. But, coming from that and, still being on the AmeriCorps stipend, where, I make a little bit more, but it's kind of the same struggle, now I have rent to pay for. I have to pay for gas, for, those things I didn't have to pay for in NCCC. So that's an experience that, I'm still going through and I'm still struggling with as an AmeriCorps member. And like I said, just really puts into perspective and makes me really, appreciate what I have.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alyssa. I do think it's so fascinating and so interesting, the diversity that we have within the United States, and even, just within one state, when you move between different regions, it really can be like a whole different world. And that's, an experience that I think a lot of people gain through AmeriCorps. And it can be challenging, and it can be eye-opening, it can be incredible. But I think that that's something that's really important to spotlight. Alex Vanek, I am going to throw it to you last.
So my service different challenges in a lot of ways than the other two. Just because the difference between NCCC and state versus me as an AmeriCorps Vista member, I'm not doing direct service. A lot of what I'm doing is, instead of being out in the community, I'm at my laptop. I'm sending emails, I'm calling people, I'm meeting and discussing and convening and doing research. And it came with its own set of problems, which were things I hadn't experienced in a lot of my other community service work beforehand. One of which was, just a little bit of isolation, working remote, our whole office being remote at the time and being the only Vista and the first Vista doing my kind of work meant that I really didn't have that guiding post. Or, if I needed advice from someone, it meant I had to, go call someone or email someone. There wasn't that like pop over to someone's desk and ask, or, pop over to the next volunteer next to me and ask them if they know. So there was that kind of isolation I had to overcome and really, find things in myself to motivate myself and inspire myself, and search for what I needed a lot of the times to make sure I could keep my work going. And then one of the other unique things, and different AmeriCorps members in different positions probably experience this, but there's definitely some imposter syndrome where you come into an organization, you come into a field where everyone is very passionate and very knowledgeable about this issue that you might have come to with some knowledge and a great deal of passion, but it can feel like you're a step behind. And that's something honestly, I still feel a lot in this work, where I'm working with people who have been, grinding out this volunteer management and this community engagement, these efforts for decades that they've been pushing these things. And here I am, my second year into it, like trying to facilitate and convene and be a leader in this space. And a lot of that was a big challenge during my Vista year, was understanding that these more experienced, these veteran people in the sector, these professionals do actually trust me to do this work, and that I've built that relationship with them, and that they believe in me and they want to see me succeed. They want to help me do this mission. They want to help me, build a better system for all of them to work in too. And that was a big hurdle to overcome. And, it took a while to understand that kind of relationship existed between me as a service member and the community partners that I was working with and building the capacity for. And then the last piece, again, very unique to being in like an infrastructure building position. I guess actually, it can be said for any AmeriCorps member is can just understanding the value of your impact, can be hard some days, because it's not always going to be a clear step forward. You're not always going to see clear improvement after a long day of hard work. I'm sure Alex can speak to that, especially. Like, I bet you'll have backsliding. Like sometimes things will go in the opposite direction, no matter how hard you're trying or no matter how much effort you think you've put in. And that can be difficult sometimes. And you just have to it was hard to be patient and know that, okay, these things that I'm doing now are going to matter in a year. These things that I'm doing now are going to matter for the people I'm serving, the organizations that I'm setting up these systems for. A year from now, they will be better off. And I just have to keep taking those small steps one at a time and doing the things that I can. Um, and the reward is often you do see that benefit at the end of your year of service, but it can be hard while you're doing that to see that kind of that end part. And so it's important to focus really on that value and know that you have value, because it can be easy to get lost sometimes.
Thank you so much, Alex. I love that idea of focusing on the big picture, because yeah, when you're in the daily slog, when you've had, maybe some setbacks, it can be so hard, to keep hopeful and keep motivated and keep at the work. But, this isn't the kind of work where, you're going to see progress every day. You see progress in weeks and months and years. And being able to look at that big picture is so, so important. So thank you. Um, I think that we are out of time, but thank you all so much, for joining us for this panel. This was absolutely incredible to hear about, the highs and the lows of your experience, to hear about just the incredible wealth of knowledge, the diversity of experience that the three of you have brought to us. And I hope that this has been inspiring and engaging for all of our members on this call. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Samantha for our next session.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you again. Honestly, that was really, I don't think I've ever heard you talk about your service like that before, Alex Vanek. So I appreciate that. And Alex Johnston, amazing. Alyssa, I think you're the world. So thank you all. Let me pass it to Kim to intro our next and final speaker.
Yes, thanks, Samantha, and thanks to all the panel and Sasha leading the panel. Thank y'all so much for your service and your work. Now we will move into our pledge, actually, our AmeriCorps pledge. And who's going to lead us in our pledge is Clifford Yee. Cliff Yee, that is. Cliff is chair of our Governor's Advisory Board and Governor's Advisory Board, and he's also the Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of the Northern Virginia Family Services. Cliff, thank you.
Thank you, Kim. It is great hearing from so many of our alumni here. I'm so glad to join you this morning. I know I stand between you and lunch here, so really appreciate everyone celebrating. It's hard to believe that 30 years ago, about 20,000 folks just like yourselves were standing in front and about to take their pledge for the very first time as we launched AmeriCorps. President Clinton at that time said this: "Service is never a simple act. It's about sacrifice for others and about accomplishment for ourselves, about reaching out one person to another, about all our choices gathered together as a country to reach across all our divides. It's about you and me and all of us together, who we are as individuals and what we are as a nation." And on our 30th anniversary of AmeriCorps, I couldn't think of better words than to bring that back to the forefront here. So on your screen, we're going to put up the AmeriCorps pledge, and we're going to create lots of feedback on this MS Teams. So I'm going to try to lead us through, and I'll ask you all to come off mute. And if you so choose, please raise your right hand as well. But certainly, please come off mute, and we'll try to get some massive feedback on MS Teams here. So please repeat after me. I will get things done for America.
I will get
things done for America.
To make our people
To make our people safer.
To make our people safer, smarter, and healthier.
Smarter and healthier.
I will bring Americans together.
I will bring Americans together
To strengthen our community.
To strengthen our communities.
To strengthen our communities.
Faced with apathy,
Faced with apathy,
I will take action.
I will take action.
Faced with conflict,
Faced with conflict,
I will seek common ground.
I will seek common ground.
Faced with adversity,
Faced with adversity,
I will persevere.
Persevere.
I will carry this commitment
I will carry this commitment
with me this year and beyond.
with me this year and beyond.
I am an AmeriCorps member.
I am an AmeriCorps member.
And I will get things done.
And I will get things done.
So thank you all and congratulations. I'm excited for your service year ahead. And for our alumni returning, I hope you will continue to stay involved. And I hope that in the future, many of you will commit to serving not only this community here in Virginia, but wherever you end up making your home and vocation. We thank you in advance for all your service. And I thank our entire Virginia Service Commission staff at Serve Virginia. So I'll turn back to Kim and Samantha here.
Thank you so much, Cliff. And I will pass it on to Samantha.
Sure. So I just want to thank everybody who joined us today. I hope that at least, if not all of it resonated, you're bringing a little piece of what Frank or Vanessa or the panel brought to the table today. AmeriCorps alum, AmeriCorps family, AmeriCorps strong, 30 years of service. I think it's incredible. Reach out to the Service Commission if you need anything. Go to our website and lean on your support to get through. I always say this to everybody, you can do anything for a year. So if your term's shorter than that, you can definitely get it done. But thank you again. And I guess it's lunchtime. So we'll dismiss. See ya. Thank you all.
Have a great year of service.